Since teaching a lot of beginners, the most common thing I see them struggling with is the lead hook. So I compiled a list of the 4 most common mistakes that they make when throwing the lead hook that you may be struggling with too. In this video, I'm going to break down each mistake and then I'm going to teach you how to completely fix it so your lead hook looks so much better and actually does some damage. And it's also a super useful punch. So, you want to get this one right. You should just get a ding sound effect with a sign saying legend and an arrow. Ding. Mistake number 1 is the most common mistake that I see beginners making when throwing a lead hook, and that is incorrect weight transfer and weight distribution. If you think about the direction of where a hook comes from, it comes from the side. It's not like a straight shot when it comes forward. It's coming from the side. That's where the force is. That's where the power line is. To get force into a punch coming from the side, you need to generate centripetal force, which is a force which pulls an object towards its center point, the object being your knuckles and the center point being your spine. Think of planets orbiting the sun via gravity. The sun doesn't move towards the planets. Your center point, your spine, doesn't move towards your knuckles, the planets, right? Instead, the sun pulls the planets towards its center point, okay? So you're pulling your knuckles towards your center point, which is your spine, all right? And to do that in terms of weight distribution, that means if my weight's coming forward, then my spine is moving towards my knuckles. We don't want that. We want to be pulling backwards. We want to be pulling the planets towards us. And that's how we make them orbit and turn in a circle around our center point, which is our spine. Okay, so the weight transfer needs to come off this front leg and move backwards like a hammer thrower. When they're winding up the hammer, right, they're pulling backwards against the force, the centrifugal force, which is pushing the hammer outwards. Okay, they're pulling it backwards to spin it round faster. Okay, to spin that hand round quicker, you need to push backwards to whip the knuckles round. Okay, if you're transferring your weight forwards, which is what I see most people doing when they're trying to do their lead hook, they're transferring the weight forwards, you're taking all of that power out of your punch. Okay, so instead it's got to come backwards like that. Now what this doesn't mean is you don't need to transfer your weight all the way forward to be able to throw a lead hook. In fact, you can keep your weight back. You just need to press into the ground slightly with your lead foot so that your hips can open from this position, and then you can start that rotation. Okay, and you can sort of pull. You could pull your head back just to whip it around a little bit faster. You had like a short range of motion here and you need to speed your knuckles up as quickly as possible, and pulling your head back and countering someone as they come in with probably a cross is a great way to just speed up your hands super quick. I've got itchy fucking thigh, bruv. I'm not having a wank. Okay, mistake number 2, which I actually see loads of people making, but I don't think I've heard anyone ever talk about this, and that is the incorrect order of your kinetic chain. So I'll start by explaining the order of it for a lead hook, and then I'll explain how you're probably fucking it up. So the order of it is I'm going to press into the ground with my lead foot. My hips are going to open because I'm setting it up from this position here. My hips are going to open. As my hips open, my upper body's catching up to it, and my upper body's catching up to it. My arm's catching up to that, and then I'm just turning the knuckle over at the end. Okay, so there's 3 different gears turning through that lead hook. So the hips are going first, then the upper body's going, then your arm's going. Okay. Now a common mistake I see is people doing this in the wrong order, or even doing it completely back to front. Sometimes some people, they'll get into the right position to throw one, and then they'll throw with the arm, then their upper body and hips will catch up after. Okay, and all that's doing is you're just slowing down the speed of your knuckles because they're being pulled back by your upper body. That's kind of adding a bit of resistance to it. Instead, it should be propelled by your body as opposed to slowed down by it. Okay, so another common mix-up of the kinetic chain is in between the hips and the upper body. In Hybrid Warrior Elite, we call this the Shalin syndrome. That's because we had a student that was throwing a lead hook where they'd throw with the upper body and then the hips would catch up. It's pretty unique, right? So you got this, right? Which I guess is kind of sort of an easy mistake to make if you don't understand the proper process of the kinetic chain. The hips do all the work. I've got a new dance move. It's called the kinetic chain mix-up. You just kinetic chain and about. Mistake number 3 is bringing your elbow up too soon when you go to throw your lead hook. So let's say you've thrown across and you're about to go throw your lead hook and you've already got your elbow up here like this. All that's doing is just leaving you super open, right, for just a longer period of time. You want to reduce the amount of time that you're left open. And the mistake that we're trying to patch over here is keeping that elbow down for as long as possible, or until the point where you start rotating this way. As soon as you start rotating, then your elbow comes up. But don't get to here, think, right, left hook. All right, it comes up as you rotate back this way. And in actual fact, it should only really be the same height as your knuckles once you get to the point of impact where your target's in front of you. Okay, so your elbow's coming up and it reaches the target here. That's where the elbow should be the same height as the knuckles. Right, so a lot of people are kind of going like this, or sometimes like too late. You want to bring the elbow up at the right time. It also helps get more snap in your punch if you bring it up at the right time. Like right as you're rotating, you just snap the elbow up, so you sort of whip over the knuckles a little bit better. Okay, it's mainly just coming off the body, but you can just get a little bit extra snap, just like you do with a jab, just turning it over. Mistake number 4 is having the elbow and the knuckles either too high or too low when you're throwing the lead hook. So for maximum power in your lead hook, you need your whole body's resistance behind your knuckles. And the only way you really get that is by having your forearm at the right height, depending on what punch you're throwing. Okay, so you want it to be rotating in the same plane that your body is. If it's coming at a different sort of angle, then you want to change the angle of your spine. For example, if I'm throwing a lead hook to the body, I want to slightly come off the center just so I can rotate around it a little bit better. Okay, I've got more resistance because my body is better aligned with how my arm's angled. Right, so when we're up here, we don't want to bring the knuckles and the arm too high, because when we bring this too high, we put all that resistance that we would have got from the body on our anterior delt like this, and everything is just going through our shoulder. So we want it about here, maybe just slightly lower than the shoulder. Okay, obviously it depends where the target is, and not everything has to be perfect. The aim is to hit and not be hit. But if you're practicing a lead hook, then just practice it as perfect as you can. So when you do go to throw it, it's more likely to be close to that, and then therefore it's more likely to do more damage with more efficiency. If you found learning about these mistakes useful, then I've got a catalogue of every single mistake that you could possibly make stored in my brain and on my computer. So if you want access to all of that, then join Hybrid Warrior Elite. It's my online boxing program where we've got courses, we've got phases, we've got a whole community of over 100 people who are actively there just analysing technique. We've got multiple coaches, including me. We do one-to-one calls. It's just absolutely fucking sick. And that's why we get amazing results. So fucking join it, unless you're a pussy. Or go to hybridwarriorelite.com or click the top link in the description. Okay, bye.